this is the kit that was described in the Tier 2 urban carry. So if you want to know what's inside here, go to that video. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Just know that Tier 2 is basically to help you get through the day. Essential things like extra battery power if you're away from a power source, some bandages, ways to like hold things together, safety pins, duct tape, way to make fire, rubber gloves, that kind of thing. Just some things to get you through the day, to get you home. Nothing major, just kind of like, oh man, my phone is dying. I wish I had an extra battery to plug it in, and that's one of the big things in here. A way to fix clothes, something tears. I got some safety pins in there, Band-Aids, that kind of thing. So get you through the day. That is Tier 2. Now, Tier 2 goes in to Tier 3. So before we get into Tier 3, let's take a look at what this entails. These are the categories that I use when it comes down to determining what tier basically am I working with. And pretty straightforward, level of refinement, end user, consumer versus raw. If you're having to do, raw processing, foraging, that kind of thing, you're in that Tier 4 category where you're not able to go to a store to buy certain things at all. Familiarity, routine travel versus very peculiar travel. So, for example, I'm from Minneapolis originally, Minnesota actually, not from Minneapolis, but actually I was in a school bus that drove over the I-35 bridge a few hours before it collapsed into the Mississippi River. And so I bring that up as a way of saying that familiarity can become peculiar pretty quickly. So taking these detours to get around that bridge collapse on an interstate that is the heartbeat, one of the busiest interstate sections, I think, in the Midwest, if not the northern half of the country. But it was something that just, sets you off a little bit, and you're in different circumstances. Resources. Can I get them from somewhere else? Can I pay someone else to get them? Can I do some kind of trade? Whatever, outsourcing your resources to being self-reliant. That kind of goes back to that the refinement piece, where you're doing some of the refining work on your own. So this could be some bushcrafting, gardening, that kind of thing. Over here is going to the grocery store, getting your supplies, buying the finished product that would be refined. But you're going to a store. You can source it from some other place. You don't have to create it yourself. Mobility, kind of mentioned that one, making sure that you're able to move around as normally as possible. That would be on the one category of the tiered carry spectrum. And restricted, blocked, no longer usable. And again, the I-35 piece was a great example of that. Proximity, how far away are you from where you're supposed to be? This may not be a huge deal depending on, if you're in the United States, you're in a state, and you're kind of in the middle of your state, you don't have to worry about other laws for other states. But if you live near a border and the laws are significantly different between your state and the neighboring state, proximity would matter in that instance. And then security, casual versus active resistance. And so that whole spectrum, casual would be your green category. Most security guys, including myself, would say you're never really ever in green. You're almost in some kind of shade of yellow as far as security goes. Some, moderate awareness of your surroundings, things like that. And this would be hyperactive. You're setting up security, perimeter. There is some serious stuff going on. I'll give you an example of this one. When I was driving back to Minneapolis from Montana, it was May of 2020. And of course, the George Floyd killing happened then. And this is the first and only time I've ever seen this driving in on Interstate I-94, coming in on the western side of the cities. And they had one of those reader boards above the highway, above the interstate, that said curfew in effect. And I believe it was it 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. or something like that. And, I'm driving in from Montana, and it's like, I didn't know that. That's not active resistance, but that puts you definitely into the category 3, Tier 3, when it comes down to security. They had riots, they had looting, not just in Minneapolis, they had looting in other places around the metro area too. So this is something to keep in mind, that these changes fluctuate throughout all of these different categories. it doesn't just move together from one side to the other. It could, but I think that would be an historical event if that were to happen like that. So this is just kind of the explanation for it. There's the tiered carry system in a nutshell. So getting into tiered 3, going past tier 2, this is tier 2 into tier 3. Let's take a look at what a tier 3 pack would basically include. Now, this is not going to include everything. This is going to include some things. And the reason for that is that I don't want to get into the nuances of, what kind of underwear to have in your pack. The bottom line is you need a pack. And a day pack, like a 2-day pack, you're going to be in the 25 to 35, maybe 40 liter category when it comes down to a pack. Now, tier 3, you're probably going to want to have more of a subdued appearance. I don't really care. I've heard guys, you should be gray man, you should be wandering, because you don't want to be standing out. You don't want to look like the guy who is prepared. You want to look like a normal guy just kind of wandering around. The other side of the coin is, what if I am the guy that looks prepared? The porcupine gets left alone for a reason. So you don't have to have your quills up all the time, but you need to have your quills on you. So my phrase that I use for security is, we all want to be porcupines, and we can raise those quills whenever we want. So here we are, tier 2. So tier 2 is going to go inside this pack. The extra battery, cords, some repair stuff, some basic first aid stuff. This is a great kit to take out when it comes down to really simple things that I need. If I know I need a battery, I'm going to go for this pack. I'm not going to search through this entire backpack to find it. So keep that in mind, that these tiers should be building one on top of the other. Tier 4 is different because you're going to have multiples. You're going to have 2 packs. You're not going to have one. And that second pack could be a wide range of options, because depending on what your first pack is, your second pack is complementary to that. It could be something that attaches to your main pack. It could be a chest rig with a pack, which is what I would use. So anyway, let's take a look at this. This is tier 3. So we're looking at extended time away from power sources, communication, potentially have to have my own food for 24 to maybe 48 hours. Water source, got to be able to have water. Need to be able to stay warm. Again, hypothermia is going to be the thing that kills you the fastest. Don't worry about water. Don't worry about food for 24 hours. You're going to be fine. But body temperature is going to be a big thing, and that can be sapped up in a hurry with any kind of precipitation. So staying dry, a shelter of some kind, some extra warmth, if you can do that. Now, again, I don't have clothes in here, but you could throw, an extra shirt, long sleeve shirt, and maybe a very thin pair of pants in there for extra layering to keep yourself warm, or as a change of clothes. But I'm not going to get into the clothes part of this. I'm going to get into the gear part. So let's get into the top hat of the pack. Let's actually first do the straps. So on the straps, I leave a watch, and this watch is the Casio Wave Scepter. I've done a review on this watch. I'm not a huge fan of the smallness of the dial. At the same time, it's a Wave Scepter, and the reason why I have this on this pack, and this is kind of the new home, this is the new addition as of today actually, is because this will have the right time all the time. So I don't have to worry about going someplace to find the time. My cell phone, if it goes out, it may not work again. What's the time if I don't have the right time on my watch? So because this has the radio syncing capability to it, this will have the right time all the time. Now, it's battery powered, so yeah, I do have to check the batteries, make sure the batteries are good. In about a year or two, I'll probably just swap the batteries out regardless, and just keep it real simple that way. Not wait till it dies, just be ahead of the program and change out the $3 battery, okay? Some kind of a survival knife, fixed blade. This is the Benchmade, what is this one? The Benchmade Adamus, I think it's called the Adamus. Paracord, if you need extra paracord, it's on the handle, which is what I like. Really sharp. I spent a lot of time sharpening this D2 steel. It's got some good serrations on the back for some rough cutting, but it's really, I think that's actually more for show than it actually is effective. But it's a great knife, tough as nails, not a lot to go wrong with it. It's D2, so it's going to be a little bit brittle, so you get, prying things, you just have to be real cautious about that. But you got to have some kind of knife like this. My preferred knife, my favorite knife, is the Revo RJ1. And the RJ1 is just fantastic. Full flat grind, great steel. There's a review out on this one as well. Perfect size. I love the finger holes or the finger cutouts on here. They fit perfectly. And I got some good jimping for the back side for my thumb, or I can switch over, use my index finger as well. This also has my favorite connection. I'm not sure what the name of this is, but it's a push button version. You push the button in the bottom and it releases. And you can also lock it this way so you can't unlock it accidentally. Versus the old style where you flip up this clip here and you squeeze the sides and it opens this way, okay? Still useful, still workable. And this is probably not where I'm gonna have this knife. I'll probably put this on my belt when I need it. But I have it with the pack so it's always there, and I don't wanna put it on the inside. I don't wanna search for it. I wanna get this on my belt right away and get to work. So, preferred knife, excellent knife, Benchmade. They make great products. I love Benchmade. I just have too many knives as well. On the side of the pack, of course, we have water bottle. And this is a way to transport water or fluids or cook. You can heat things up in here. It's got a little stand that if you want, you set a stand up. You can put burnable material in there like twigs, paper. Get this thing warmed up real quick. So it's a great system. So it also has a strainer top to it. So the stand that it goes on is also a cup that you can pour. I'm not going to get it out right now, but you can pour things with it if you want. Okay. So really cool to have that. There's that. 2 side pockets. I don't use this. I don't leave a lot of stuff in the side pockets. This is kind of the casual, like water bottles go in there, that kind of thing when I grab those and go. You'll find out with water, I have a solution in here too. I love this pack. This is, I think, the Condor. I'm not sure what the name is, but you have the ability to put a cell phone on the side, easy access. And because I've been using this for hunting, I've got a load of AA batteries in there for my predator call. So anyway, great little side pocket pouch to have, okay? So top hat. We'll take a look at this. And let's just open this up so you can get in there. Good idea to weave your zippers together so that they're harder to get to open up. All right, this is for camera work. I just have it in there. That's not necessarily a tier 3 category thing. Compass is. You do need a compass, if anything, to know where north is. If you don't know where north is, get a compass, super cheap. Have one in your pack somewhere. Have it easily accessible so you know where north is, okay? Spoon and fork. I have gone back and forth on what do I bring with me as far as utensils. Do I get a spork? I've gone back and forth. I'm just putting a spoon and fork in here and letting it ride. Does it take up too much space? I don't think so. Are they nice to have? I think it's more than nice to have. I think they're in some ways necessities for turning things when you're cooking, spooning things out, digging things out. I mean, there's some things that you can do with spoons and forks that I think are highly valuable. If I'm in a place where I'm not sure what's going on, I highly recommend this. 5th Ops. This is a perimeter alarm. And what it is you have these primers, and these are, I think these are shotgun primers. You take these shotgun primers, you put one inside there, you pull it apart, put a primer in, and you put the pin in. Set up your tripwire, your string, which I'm using spider line for fishing. It's a braided line, which is really tough stuff, okay? And it's really small diameter. And you set that up for a perimeter alarm. And what happens if somebody trips it? Bang, loud, it's like a firecracker goes off. Everybody knows that it went off. So if you're doing this as some kind of clandestine trip or mission or something, this is probably not the thing you want to use. It is valuable when it comes down to knowing who comes into where. I use this for camping, for bears. We put we string the food cache up in the tree, and then I'll set one of these up so that I know if a bear is in the camp or not, or if someone's out sneaking a snack. Lights. I love Nightcore. Nightcore lights are worth every penny. This is their headlamp. This is the HC65. I love this lamp. It's awesome. I do keep the battery separate from the lamp because they just seem to last longer. They don't discharge. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to charge all of my batteries up. I haven't done it for a couple of months, so I go through, whether it be my weapon lights, whether it be headlights, headlamps, other flashlights that have rechargeables. I recharge all of my rechargeable batteries about every other month. Okay, highly recommend you get in the habit of doing that. This is a great light: high, medium, low, red light, strobe light, flashing red light. I think there's another color on here. I think it's green. I haven't accessed it yet, but that's the stuff you need. And a headlamp is awesome because a headlamp is what gets you get your hands free when you're working on something. So highly recommend a headlamp. Tourniquet, self-explanatory. Spend some time developing a good first aid kit. And I'm talking about a first aid kit, like a trauma kit. The nose hose, for those of you in the military and law enforcement, you know what the nose hose is for. If you're in the medical field, this is a way to run a hose from your nose down into your throat so that you can breathe through your nose more easily, especially if there's any kind of neck trauma, swelling, that kind of thing. These are for pneumothoraxes. It releases the pressure that builds up between your lungs and your chest wall. Get some training on that, but these are lifesavers. Once you know how to use them, they're awesome and really easy to use. I've got some large bandages in here and also toilet paper. Don't forget toilet paper for personal hygiene. You got some dressing tape as well, which is kind of weak stuff, but you know, if you got it, throw it in there. Lens cloth. I have glasses. Make sure you take care of your glasses. Tier 2, extra pair of glasses. Don't put it in tier 3 or tier 4. Keep it in tier 2. Keep your extra pair of reading glasses in here and have them in a case so that they don't get destroyed while you're throwing this around from one trip to the other, because this one gets used a lot more than this one will get used. Okay? An extra lens cloth, always good. You can use it for other stuff as well. And then rubber gloves, and these are nitrile. So these are, you know, if you're dealing with some drug issue, when it comes down to you don't know what this thing is or what your whatever happened, and it's like, I don't know if there's fentanyl involved or not, because fentanyl will pass through latex. So you want nitrile. Nitrile gloves are the way to go. This is what we use in law enforcement, and we always had, I think, 2 or 3 pair of these in our cargo pants on our side of our legs for emergency medical work, or working with a substance I'm not aware of. Throw on the nitrile gloves, and I should be good to go. Okay. All right. I don't have anything in this pocket up here. You could put stuff up here. Maybe all your first aid kit up here. Put all your your lamp, batteries, and all that stuff up here. So, or whatever you want. Okay. So that's the top hat. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of the core of this pack. Now, keep in mind, again, I remind you, this is not supposed to be a comprehensive pack. This is representative of what I have in here. Now, this looks like a mess, but it covers a lot of the major issues when it comes down to Tier 3. Tier 3, I may have to stay in my car overnight. I may have to go to a shelter. I may have to stay outside, the shelter. Maybe it's a rest stop, and you're out driving around. It's a rest stop because the roads are closed for whatever reason. And so everybody's piling into a rest stop, and you got to have a place to stay there. Okay, first things first, food. Now, yeah, I opened this because I eat these because I don't want these just to rot. So I've waited, I think, 2 years before I opened it. And I'm going to go through this and replenish this and make sure that I have a full packet in here. But this has enough food. I think there are 3 bars in here right now. This will last you definitely for a day when it comes down to food. So I've got a day's worth of food still left in here. Normally you have 3 days. You get 3 of these, and there's three bars in each of these sections. Okay, these are good. I like these. They taste good. I like the cinnamon. If you're going to buy it, why not buy something that you actually want to eat? Okay, these are high calorie dense food. That's what you want to have in here, something like that. Okay, let's talk about warmth again. Hypothermia, something for the head. Okay, this is a much heavier duty neck gaiter This is a lighter duty just for the neck. This is not something I would necessarily put over my head as a hat type of thing. This is much, much longer. You can see the difference in length of this is much longer. So this is definitely one that you can put on your head in all those funky different directions and keep your head a little bit warmer. Also, pair of warm socks, not cotton. Cotton is rotten. For those of you that have lived in the mountains, you know that. Cotton is rotten. So get something that's blended, or it's wool, or a wool blend, or merino wool, something like that, and make sure that they are warm, okay? Pair of gloves, anything to keep your hands warm, keeps your dexterity going when it comes down to cool weather. So again, hypothermia, this is not going to prevent hypothermia. This will help kind of keep your feet warm and your hands warm so that you can keep moving around. Shelter, I've got plastic bag, and this is one of those hard to tear kind of bags, which I think is really helpful. Look for something that's tough. Go for a higher mil. That's the thickness of the plastic. And again, it doesn't have to be necessarily hole free, because I'll probably cut this up and make this into a longer tarp, probably. Could be a rain jacket. Cut a hole for your head, 2 holes for your arms, and then it becomes a rain jacket, okay? Bivy. This is just a real simple, basically waterproof sleeping bag that has no insulation whatsoever. This keeps you dry. However, it keeps all the moisture in. So when you sleep, you perspire a lot of water. So just keep that in mind, that you're going to be wet on the inside if you don't have this ventilated a little bit. So use this only when you absolutely have to, but it is a good deal when it comes down to preserving body heat. Emergency blanket, self-explanatory. Okay, this compass, I just found it, I threw it in here. It's really cheap. Who cares? Okay, so there's that. One other thing, if you're going to be out for a couple of days, this is going to seem like a luxury item, but to me, sleep is the one thing that your body needs the most, good rest. And if a pillow helps you get good rest, this is the size of the pillow that I have. I blow it up and I've got something to rest my head on no matter where I'm at, okay? I think this is a necessary thing. Sleep is a necessary thing no matter what tier, what conditions you're in. Just protect your sleep as much as you can. All right, so what do we got here? We got a way to cook. And this is a hexamine stove. Hexamine tablets, they're used by the military. Good emergency fuel. One of these will boil, I think it's 2 cups of water or 1.5 cups of water pretty quick. They burn almost completely under any circumstance. They're really, really, really useful. I've used these before. They work fine. Just don't be downwind from it. I've heard some other pieces about causing cancer and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's over prolonged usage and prolonged exposure. So just try to stay downwind if you can. I don't know what that means for your food, but do what you can. Tent stakes, okay? If you're going to do something, tent stakes are great for any kind of shelter. If you find cardboard, whatever, I just grab some stakes that are not a full set necessarily. Put a rubber band around it. Now I've got an extra rubber band as well. But staking things down actually is a good thing when it comes down to any kind of shelter. A water purification system, okay? So I use the Sawyer. The Sawyer is a great water purification system. Here's your filter. Here's your bag. Cleaning kits, because you can clean this out when you're done using it. But have a water purification system. This one's kind of clunky. I think I'm going to go to the Life Straw. I've heard a lot about them. And it's one of those trust things, Do I trust my life to a straw? Well, yes, because I'm basically trusting it to a much larger straw. So water purification, so that means I can use the water sources that are available almost without care. Just make sure you filter it, and if it's really kind of funky, maybe filter it twice, okay? Now, battery power is one thing that I did, let's see, I brought that out here. I'm going to show you some battery power options, okay? So inside the Tier 2 kit, inside this Tier 2 kit is a battery source. Now the battery source that's in here is an older version that I've had for over 10 years. And I love it. It's a Goal Zero small little USB battery pack. It works great. Compact, easy to use. However, you have to have a power source to charge it up, like a plug-in power source. Enter Amazon. I'm not sure what the name of this is. I'll get it in the description down below. But a solar charged battery pack about the same size as that Goal Zero. This is, I think you can get 4 phone charges out of this, or 3 phone charges out of this. Not only that, here's the charging cord if I want to charge it up faster. I can plug this into the battery to charge it up. But I've also got all the pigtails that I need. I have the regular USB, micro, I have the lightning for the iPhone, and I made sure when I bought this it had the lightning. And the USBs, I think there's USB-C, here's the USB micro, and then here's the regular USB right here. You know, make sure you have the right pigtails. Also, if you get something like this, get it with a light. And so this light, you know, can serve as a night light if you need that. Okay? And sometimes a night light is a very good thing. There are 2 things that repel bad people: dogs and lights. I have a dog, I have lots of lights. Okay. Larger. Okay? If you're saying, you know what, I got to make sure I have battery power for a long time, this is another Amazon charger. This is also a solar charger. This one is bigger. Okay? The solar cells are bigger. The battery cell is bigger. And this is one that we've used for camping. This one gets quite a bit of use, actually. This one goes on a lot of trips because if anything happens, you can do multiple cell phones multiple times. Okay? You've got your charging ports in here. You've got your inputs, your outputs. So all's good in the hood here. Now, this one also has the light, and see if we can get it turned on. There it is. Okay, much brighter light. So this is not necessarily a night light. And go through all the modes. I guess there's 3 modes: SOS, strobe, and then it turns off. Okay, so solar is good that way. If you want to go the whole 9 yards, it's not that much more, and you get yourself a actual solar cell that's huge. This will charge things up. You hang this off your pack, you can charge to say you've got 4 or 5 people. You're intending to have this pack serve 4 or 5 people. That's okay. This is going to do it, okay? Because this has in it, whoops, wrong side. It has in it USB. I can plug in USB right here. Okay, so I can plug in, you know, if you have a USB splitter, you can do 2 at the same time. And I would imagine that's about all it's going to be able to handle. You also double the time of charging because you split the amount of electricity going through here. So there's something to charge with. Construction materials, I always carry, and this is part of, I use this for hunting as well, but I always carry a saw with me for cutting limbs down, and I always have a roll of tape. And this is electrical tape because electrical tape is annoyingly stretchy. So for those of you that have used electrical tape before, or for those of you that hate using electrical tape, you know what I'm talking about, okay? But a good roll of electrical tape will go a long way. It's plastic. It has a pretty good adhesive to it. It's not as good as Gorilla Tape. Gorilla Tape to me is the icon of survival tape or tier 3, tier 4 tape. But I'm okay with this because it's cheap, and generally when you stretch it and you wrap it around something, it actually gets pretty tight, okay? So that's pretty much the gear that I have. You've got things to cook with, things to stay warm. You've got shelter. You've got some first aid capability. You've got some navigation. You've got a little bit of food. You've got ways to charge up communication devices. You can transport liquids. You've got some shelter. Oh, I didn't mention the game bag. Game bag obviously is for shooting big game, but this can also serve as a ways to carry things. Nothing really heavy, but you can certainly carry, you can double it up, triple it up, make it extra tough, and carry more if you want in a smaller package. And also to start fire, I have a fire kit over here. I didn't mention, I got 2 more things here. So I've got a fire kit, candle, for light. Blackbeard, if you've not tried Blackbeard fire starters, you got to try it. Highly, highly, highly recommend this. it burns under any circumstance. Strike Anywhere matches. These are in a waterproof case, but these matches are also, they burn a lot longer than your typical Start Anywhere matches. So these they're substantial. This is some fire starting material here. A lot of good YouTube videos out there on what to do with those matches. I have extras. I'll probably have to put a few more back in here because I have used it. You also want to have your typical Bic lighter. You always have a Bic lighter. I have a Bic lighter in the tier 2. So this is where I do get redundant with Bic lighters, because these can go out. So when you charge your batteries, go through, find your Bic lighter, make sure your Bic lighter works. Also candles, light, a different kind of light where you don't have to use batteries. Maybe you can't use batteries. Maybe your headlamp gets busted. So a couple of candles would work well. These are 4 hours each. I believe this is a 6-hour candle, 6 or 8 maybe. And you can put this down and, it'll burn for a while. And when you're done, blow it out, and it's waterproof. It stays in the condition that it's in. The wick is going to be more tender, a little more fragile after it's been burned once, so keep that in mind. But Blackbeard, good stuff, good matches, a couple of different ways to start a fire, and good to go. Cordage, how do you tie things up? Because that is another piece that I think is really important. And so here on the other side, I have 3 different types of cordage, 2 of which I'm familiar with. The other one, I think I just found it and I just threw it in there. So I've got 550 paracord, great paracord, excellent. It's camouflaged. I'm okay with that. I've got some bank line, and bank line is just a thinner version of paracord, but it's not as durable, it's not as strong. But this is for tying things like shelter material. This is for hauling. Like if you have to do something that involves a lot of weight, a lot of stress, you want to use 550 paracord. Bank line, not so much, but it is smaller. I don't know what this is. I found it. I'm putting it in there. So what? So there it is. Ways to tie things down. Okay. Now, that is the entire bag. I can start a fire, tie things down. I've got different forms of shelter. I can stay relatively warm. I've got some food. I've got a pillow to get a good night's sleep. That sounds weird, but I think that's important. I can maybe construct some things. I got a saw, light source, some first aid material, some trauma kit material. And you've got a variety of different ways to charge things. You've got different types of solar power. Some are built right in, really compact. And others, you're going to take and you're going to use something like that. Not necessarily a bad idea, okay? Because these are all different versions that will eventually get more and more complex as the situation dictates. So laugh at that now, but if that tier 3 situation goes to a tier 4 situation, you're going to be happy you have a large solar cell that charges multiple phones or charges your phone a lot faster and is not reliant on a solar cell with a battery, okay? I just think I'm going to switch over to this. This is probably the best thing I've seen so far. It's the size of my hand, and as far as a tier 2 and tier 3, this is going to work great. This is my tier 3, tier 4, and if I really need it, I'm going to have a tier 4 set up with a solar cell. So there you go, tier 3. There's an example of it. Clothes are not included on this one because that's totally up to you. If you want to do tier 3 naked, you go for it. But the idea here is that you put the clothes in here that you want, and just keep it as simple as possible. This is a layered system. This is not an all-encompassing thing. This is layer upon layer. I'm going to take my tier 2 and it's going to go inside my tier 3. My tier 3 is not necessarily going to fit inside of my tier 4. I'll probably have, for my case, it'll be a chest rig, or it's a larger backpack that's set up for a tier 4. But that's where the tier 3 and tier 4 really start to become redundant, more comprehensive, and things like that. So put your comments down below as far as what you think of the tier system of carry. The tier 3 system right here. Security-wise, I didn't mention the security part of this. As far as firearms go, absolutely I'll be carrying a firearm here. Probably a pistol at this point. when you get to tier 4, or maybe tier 3, kind of depends, but tier 4 for sure is going to have a rifle involved. So there you go. There's the tier 3. Put the comments down below, and look forward to interacting with you on this idea, this concept in preparedness. Not paranoia, preparedness. And this is something that I keep going on and on here. But when I was teaching armed intruder resistance training to the school system, one of the things I wanted to make sure staff understood was the difference between preparedness and paranoia. Preparedness is when you're able to function, you're able to do the thing that you need to do or the things that you need to do. Paranoia is where it takes hold of what you need to do and you have a hard time getting past that, whatever that thing is, and you're not able to do what you need to do. So paranoia is a paralyzing response. Preparedness is not. So there's a distinction between the two. And make sure that whatever you're doing here is not paranoia. You know, it's not all the supplies at once, because if the world comes to an end, frankly, I don't want to be here. Okay? My faith in God is way more important than this stuff. But at the same time, I have personally seen a curfew. I've seen the riot and looting. I have seen a bridge collapse and what that means to a metro area and what that can do to traffic. Of course, everybody's seen construction. Everybody has seen natural disaster and those kind of things too. So these are not paranoia things. These are preparedness things. Like, how can you get past the 72-hour threshold? How can you get past 3 days, 3 weeks, and 3 months? You know, and you can kind of look at your tier system that way. 3 days, 3 months. 3 days, 3 weeks, and 3 months. How do you get past each one of those levels? Can I do 3 days with this? Probably not. Okay, it's not intended for that. Could I do 3 days with this? Absolutely. Could I do 3 weeks with this? I'd be stretching it. Could I do 3 weeks with my tier 4 system? Absolutely. So these are all the ways that you act prepared, in a prepared sense, not a paranoia sense. But most importantly is your faith, because ultimately life is short, eternity is long. So there was my speech. I'm sticking to it. There's the tier 3 system. And leave your comments down below. Now I'm going to end this video. You guys take care and have a great day.